All right, so one of the most popular questions that I get as a post-conviction or appellate attorney, that pretty much any criminal defense attorney gets, is what do you do if you know your client is guilty? Well, first thing, I typically don't even know, because even when the record seems super clear that someone is guilty, sometimes it turns out that they weren't guilty because somebody lied or some piece of evidence wasn't produced or was produced that persuaded the jury of guilt that actually shouldn't have persuaded the jury of guilt. And sometimes the most seemingly innocent clients turn out to be guilty because something else pops up later. So my job is to give them a defense, because often I'm not really going to know. And the reality is that the government has far more resources than the defendant. And so if anything, my job is to keep the government honest, because the last thing that we want in our system is people who are innocent being convicted. And that's part of the role that I fill. Secondly, even if they did do it, our system is so punitive and our sentences can be so extreme for sometimes some of the most ridiculous things that by the time I get involved, because of how long the appellate process takes, because of how long, if the appeal is unsuccessful, the post-conviction process takes, it's probably going to be years before we could get any relief, and by then the person has probably suffered more than enough for the crime that they committed. We live in a system that is inherently extremely punitive and inherently believes that our prison system is going to rehabilitate someone, and there's plenty of research that indicates that's really not the case. So whatever the case may be, guilt or not, by the time I get involved to try to fix something, they probably have suffered enough to keep them from reoffending if I'm able to get them out or shorten their sentence. And then the last thing that I will say is I don't believe that anybody is defined by the worst thing that they've ever done. Even if they did make a big mistake, as Brian Stevenson says, no one is defined by the worst mistake they've ever made in their life. And I live by that, and I follow that, and I believe that people deserve second chances, and that if they can get a second chance through the very difficult legal process and I can help them with that, then I'm going to do that, and I find a lot of purpose and a lot of meaning behind doing it.